Welcome back. In the previous video, we created our action and reducer and put it into our combined reducer to make up our store to have a user reducer inside our store. So what we are going to focus in this video is to make the actual call from our front end to register the user as we did for when creating the book. So let me close all these tabs, and I always remind you that we're not focusing on the CSS part, so I provided a component ready for you to use it. So I have added one component called users, and in there we have one file called register user, and this is a form, okay, to register the user. So you can go to my GitHub repository and then grab that if you want. So let me show you where it is. If you go to my GitHub repository, I'll provide a link in the description and you can grab that. When you go to the main repository here, click on commit. By the time you watch me, I have a couple of commits here, so always I'll show you what the number you're going to focus on. As you can see, the one with number 4 with register user form, click on the code icon and go to front end, and in the RSLC and components and users and register user. So you can copy the whole of the code here and then come back to your Visual Studio Code, create a subfolder inside my component user, and then you can paste it there. So let me quickly render and see how it looks like as it stands now. So let me add it to our React routing. So head over to app.js file, and then as it stands, we have two components that we are rendering based on our route path. So let me copy one route here and then make some small change. Let me make here register like that. So make it register, and then we will head over to our navbar, and then we can add to the navigation part. So what we're going to render is called register user. Register user. I think I have auto import correctly. Alright, so sorry for the notification. So let's head over to our application and go to the route register and see what we have. So as it stands, we have this. When I go to /register, as you can see, I have the form and it's doing nothing, just displaying data for us. So let's head over to our navbar and then add a link to this register. When I click on register, I can have this for books, add book, and then register. So inside my navbar, go to your component, navbar.js, and where do you have the register user? Or go to the list item menu. Here, when you scroll down here, where the actual menu starts from, we have the books, we have add book, users, logout, and then we have register. So here, let's make use of the link we import from the previous video, and we have the path to register. So let's try. As you can, I click on it, I have the register. So let's do the actual call from our register component. So what do we need? First of all, we need to bring in our action, and then we import some couple of hooks from React Redux to make our life easier. So first, let's manage states, handle state form inside our component. So as always we do in React way of doing things, we import the use state here, and I have 3 fields I'm going to manage. So I'll say use state, I have the snippet, and the first one will be the name, and then I want to have a camel case, so here will be capital N, and by default is empty string. And the next one will be my email, and then set email, alright, and then as initial of empty string, and the last one will be the password. So let me say use state here, and then here will be password, and then I will have an empty string. So let's head over to the individual input and then handle that. So for the name, I will have it initial value of name, and then a function to unchange. Okay, and then the function, I have the anonymous function. We take e and I will say set name and e dot target dot value. Okay, so this is a normal function. If you have one argument here, you can ignore the curly braces. That is why I'm doing that. Even I have print here, when I format, it do that for me automatically. So next one will be the email field on 29. The same process will be the value, will be email, and on change will be anonymous function. Then I pass in my set email, and then inside my email, if something changes, I have to grab the value the user currently typing. The last one will be my password field. Here the value will be equal to my password here, and my on change will be the anonymous inline function called set password, and then I'll say my e.target.value, like that. So now I have it. So let me head over to, I think we don't have any error. Head over to our console and let's see that we have something. A is changing on control to control. Let me refresh it. Yeah, now we have it there. Okay, so don't mind me with the HTML and the class names, that error. It's important to us for now. So let me close it. And then now we can type something inside our form. So when you type in, you want to trigger an action, right? An action. So first of all, we want to check if a user is logging. Okay, if a user is logging, we want to quickly push the user to the dashboard or wherever, right? We don't want to bring the user back if the user has been already logging. So let's do that inside our components. What do we need? Remember, but before that, let's do the registration first, and then we come back to that and do that logic. So let's find a way of what dispatching an action. So we need use dispatch. From my previous video, I briefly talked about that. So use dispatch is a hook from Redux to dispatch an action. So inside my function here, I can create an instance of use dispatch. So I will say that const dispatch. I can make the variable whatever by convention, make it dispatch is equal to use dispatch and call as a function like that. So I have to create a function called form submit handler to trigger the function, to trigger my action. So I will say form submit handler, and remember this function I have e as an argument here. Then I can quickly say e.prevent default. This is the right way of doing things, right? So this one will prevent the refreshing the browser when I submit. So here comes the logic. I have to dispatch the action here. Let me say dispatch action here, because this action will call when I click on the button register on line 60. So here I have to bring in the action from my user action. So let's head over to Redux action, users, and user action. And what action do I need? Register user action. And it takes what? Name, email, and password as a requirement for that. So here, let me import the user register action. Okay, let me save it again. I think I might have the auto. Sorry. What is my user action? User action. So let me save it again. I think I may have the auto import this time around. So here, user register action. Oh no, unlucky. So let me import it here. User register. Oh no. So let me do it manually. Why? I'm not getting the user. Oh, register user action. Did I export it? Yeah. Register user action. I want to have the auto import register. Oh, I'm good. We are good to go. So here I imported from my React actions and the users. So here I'll call my dispatch and pass in register user action. As you can see, the IntelliSense, it takes a couple of arguments from our action and the name, email, password, and I can get it from this field. So I'll pass in name here, I'll pass in email here, I'll pass in my password like that. So then we're good to go. So let's head over to the form and then pass in on submit, and then I will say form submit handler like that. We are good to go. So let's go back and try. Let's check our console. If something is wrong, we don't have it, then let's try to trigger that. So right now, if you check our React extension dev2 here, we have nothing because on this component we are not rendering or any of the banner. Go to books and you go to the dev2 here. As you can see, we have it, and we have user login, which is empty. So remember, when I register the user, from our action is going to put that user who has been registered into the local storage. So let's try and see. So let's go over to this application register, and then let's register a name. Let me say Joe, and the email will be joe@gmail.com, and the password 12345 whatever. Register. Let's see if everything goes on well. As you can see, first of all, user register request, it was true, and then success, boom, we have that. As you can see, wow, we have it inside our store, right? So this data is also inside our local storage, because when you check our user action, we said that when the user register, we want to put the user into local storage on line 38. So let's go back to our console here and go to, let's click that application, and as you can see, our application, then head over to storage and local storage, and we have it there. Is it Adam or whatever? No. Okay. I said Ben, Joe, right? But I think I have something here. So let me clear my, this one. I already have some data there, so that's why it was popping up. As you can see, I have the name Joe, email, and a token. All of them has been saved inside my local storage. So what I was telling was that now we can go back to our store and then pull this one from our local storage into our store as an initial state. So let's head over to our store. So the logic of what I'm going to do right now is that I want to check if a user is surely registered or login. So we are going to pull. That's the reason why we save it inside local storage. So inside our store, we can pull that one from local storage and then pass into our store as initial state, right? So this is what we're gonna do. Here, let's go to our store. So let me close everything from here and let me collapse everything. Let's go to front end, SRC, Redux, and then store, and here. Remember, our store also accepts third parameter called initial state. So we're going to pass the initial state to our store so that we can have the user from our local storage. So here, let's create a simple way of getting the user. So let me say get user from local storage, and save it into our store. Okay, so that in our component we can check if the user is actually logged in. So we can say const user of from storage is equal to make use of storage API. If you want to get something, is what dot get item, and what is the value that we are going to get is user of. Remember, user of data, right? So let's check, is that how we save it when we are creating the action? Let's check. If not, you have to do it where user, yeah, it's user of data, yeah, the same value. So my store, I'm going to grab the same thing, user of data, and we are going to check if actually there is a user without login. So without data, so it says that if local storage dot this one, if actually there is a user, then we will say json dot parse. Okay, we are going to parse what the actual data, that is local storage dot get item, and then the user of data, user of data. Otherwise, if there is no user, then we say null. Okay, so in our state, if there in our store, if there is no user inside our local storage, you will say it's null. So now we are going to pass some initial state to our store. So we can say that const initial state, is equal to an object, and on this object you have what is called user login. Remember guys, it is very important how you name the values here. Remember, when you go to our store, we have our states, we have what is called, let me quickly collapse these ones for now, user login. That's what you provide, because we want to get the same semantic way, for example user login and the user info. So when the user log in, because of object, we can populate that one with the user login information into that login, user login. But if you don't provide user login as what we have a different reducer, okay, which is not pointing to the actual user login here. That's why I want to make it clear right now. So let's try. So on that user login here is what will be an object, remember, because sorry guys for moving up and down, I want to make it clear one more time. As you can see, on user login, it's an object. When open, we have user info. In a user info, we have the actual response. That is why we're making it here. So on that, we can say it will be equal to user of from local storage. User of, user from, what's the name? User of, sorry, there I have to have user info, sorry, and I'll get my user of from local storage. Then I can pass it to as a second argument to my store initial state, like that. So when you save it and you go to our store, you can see that we have pulled the user from local storage into our store. So let's try, let's see. Let me collapse everything from here. As you can see, our state now, we have user login. Perfect. So when we refresh again, let me refresh one more time, and we can still have the state, but why here is undefined, but we have pulled a user from that storage. So let me check. I think there is something wrong somewhere. Guys, sorry for moving up and down, but I think all right. Is it now? User info and then user info from. Okay, let's try to console log. Here, console log the user from local storage and see. So console .log user of from local storage, like that. So let's try. Go back to our console. our console there. Let me refresh it. And as you can see, we have it from a local storage from a store. We have it, but why is not inside our our state? Oh, it's there because I didn't refresh it. This one didn't refresh by itself. That is the problem. It didn't restart. So let's head over to the actual one. As you can see, let me open again. Why this one doesn't refresh? But as you can see from here that we have the user info inside being populated. So inside our component of register, we are going to check if a user has been logging. Then you push the user to, for example, a dashboard or any route you want to push the user. So inside our register component, let's go there and then let's finalize this logic. So inside the component of my users register, we are going to pull that pieces of data, that's user login, and check if a user login, then we can push to different way. So we're going to make use of use selector. Okay, from our previous video, use selector is a way of grabbing a piece of state from our store into our component that it needs. So here we will say that we're going to grab that user from our, so let me say grab user login from store. So use selector as a function, and then okay, let me take my time, then let me do so. So let me say const, let me make it state here for the meantime here, and state is equal to use selector, and it's a function that takes in a callback function. In the call function we have our whole state inside there, but because it takes only one parameter, I can ignore the query braces and then just return and say return state. So when I console log the states, we can see that you have the user login and the user created state inside our store. So let me save it and then let me head over to our application and let me refresh one more time. As you can see, let me clear everything from the store. I think the store one is just displaying. So let me head over to my Redux and then store, and then let me clear this console log here and let me check this use selector there. Alright, so let me check one more time. Let me refresh it. As you can see, we have the individual pieces of state inside our store. We have book, book list, and user login, and we are concerned only for the user login, this one. So user login has a property called user info, so you can grab that from user login. So instead of state, you can say dot user login, right? And I can label whatever user login here. It can be anything. So when I console log user login there or here, as you can see, we have only that pieces of user login with user info. So here I can grab the loading and the user info. Alright, because inside our store, let me check why this one updating. It's too weird to do that. Okay, let me cancel it and then let me open one more time, and then let me put it here, and I believe you can have it. Okay, so here as you can see, user login, we have user info, and then do you have an error? No. So we're going to check for this only, user info, right? So if actually there's a user inside that, then we are going to push the user to different components. So let's do that. So since we have user login, we can destructure the user login and grab user info. Okay, user info from user login, and then I like to console log everything for you to see user info. So let's try, go back to and then refresh it. Then let me go back to my console, like object with this one. So if there's no user, so let me try to clear my local storage. If there's no user, and then let me go here and then let me say, actually let me delete everything from this and then go back to my console and then refresh. Now, so you're going to make the logic. If a user is null, then we can display the form, but if it's not null, then we can quickly return the user to a different route. So let's do that. So here, when I dispatch the action, because of the React router DOM, we have access to what is called history prop that was injected by our React router DOM, and we can make use of that. So when you dispatch the action, and even before we dispatch the action, we are going to check from here, above here, and we are going to make use of use effect. Okay, so let me say redirect if user is logging or authenticated. Okay, so here what you're going to do is that you're making use of use effect, make use of use effect here, use effect, and import it, auto import, and then I have my function which takes the second argument as that. So here, and it depends on the user info, you will say that if actually there's user info, where is it, user info, then we're going to say history on it. We have what is called push, and then let's push to, let me say, dashboard. Doesn't exist yet, so let's try this one and see. You have some errors there, we don't have it, right? So now let me try to register a new user. So let me say here Ben2, let me say Josh, let me say Joe2, and then whatever, Joe2 at gmail.com, and password 12345, register. As you can see, when I register, quickly redirect me to my dashboard. So now when I try to go to any route, I can go. When I go to register, you see I don't have the form. It has been what redirected me. As you can see, at the blink of an eye, it do that. So when I register the user, I want to push the user to a dashboard like that. So guys, this is how we make use of action creator and reducers to create a user from the front end. In the next video, you will implement the login part into our application.